Hi, I'm Rick Dior, and that was a tune called Now What? And this is part of my big band reading series where I take pretty basic big band charts from this book, Sittin' In with the Big Band, volumes 1 and 2. And I play them for you and then talk about them and talk about different approaches to them. And this kind of thing is very difficult for a young player to comprehend because we have a floating jazz feel in the beginning, and it comes back several times, where there's not a walking bass line. So the time you have to play is very free and open. And it's hard for young drummers to comprehend that. So it's not a two feel, it's more of a floating feel. Of course, Tony Williams and several other drummers back in the day made these things famous with tunes like Maiden Voyage and certain modal jazz of the time. All those records like Miles Smiles and Kilimanjaro and all those great records have a lot of floaty kinds of feel. And I don't know if this is patterned after So What, the Miles Davis tune, but it's certainly similar. So maybe it is it's dedicated to that. So in the opening, we have this kind of floating figure where we have a break, and it goes ba-da-ba-boo-wah. So in there, you're not doing 2 and 4 on the hi-hat. So you don't want to do this. So you don't want to do that. You want to approach it more like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's very mixed up. The ride cymbal is not just doing ding, 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 ding. It's playing particular rhythms, and some of them are corresponding to some band hits that are not written on the chart. You just got to use your ears to listen to. Now at number 10, we have this figure that's bump, ba, which is sort of a pedal tone. It is a pedal tone with the bass and the piano. So there, they have this written figure. That sounds bad. Okay, so you don't want to do that. And you don't want to play hi-hat on 2 and 4 either. What you want to do is mix it up. So on the recording you heard, I played just a very basic kind of Latin swing thing, which is... So I'm catching the bump, ba, and then I'm using my hi-hat, sort of like you'd use your left hand, to fill in some of those figures. You can also use open hi-hat like this. So there I'm kind of kicking it open, and that creates a legato, long feel. You want to stay with long sounding things, dark cymbals, like I have my old K here, another old K here. It's a darker sounding tune, not a real happy sounding tune, you know, more minor, okay, in sound. And then at 26, all of a sudden we walk tempo. And there I switch to a more defined cymbal and almost quarter notes, like a Jimmy Cobb kind of feel. All right, and I like to play at this tempo, and I've discussed this in other videos. I like to play my ride cymbal tight there. Now, throughout this tune, we have a guitar player on the track, doing kind of a Freddie Green, who's a great guitar player with Count Basie doing that strumming. Now, as a drummer, I got to tell you, I've never been fond of that, playing with a guitar player who does that, because number one, most guitar players can't even come close to the feel of Freddie Green. They play far too loud, and they're not playing the accurate rhythm. So it's kind of all over the place a lot of times, and it interferes with what the drums are doing. I'd rather either the guitar lay out or comp share it with the piano, but not do that bop, bop, because as a drummer, it locks you in to things and almost sounds very stiff. And so I'm not a big fan of the chunk, chunk, chunk guitar player, unless it's a guy who really knows how to do it and can do it in a way that's percussive but doesn't interfere with the groove, like Freddie Green, of course. So in this case, though, where we have a guitar playing, you need to play a little tighter, all right, like that. Which is a bassy style of playing, okay, if you listen to the Basie band. I'm not doing much 2 and 4 with the snare drum there. This is a little bit of a modal tune, so that would be a little bit old-fashioned. Here and there I'm adding a click on 4 to lock it in. So that goes along. The solo happens twice, and then we get into this thing at 87, which is hi-hat. Now there, it's just got the hi-hat written, just play 2 and 4. But what I played is just, I played a hi-hat rhythm. I think that sounds better. It leaves the brass and the saxes less naked there. And then at 95, we kick right back into this semi-shout floating chorus. So 1. Now you'll notice I'm using my small tom as a long tone. So you don't always have to use cymbals for long tones. You can use a ringing tom. These drums ring forever, these Craviottos. So that's a good thing to be able to do, and it's not all cymbals. Ba-da-da, da-da-da. You can use some drums in there. It breaks it up, breaks up the monotony. And then finally at the end we come back to this floating figure, all right? And I played very, very simple here. So I like on those big bass tones to use this swish cymbal, this China. It's just kind of nasty and dark. And then at the end, they have a fill in triplets. I played very simple there. And just make sure the last note is short. Okay, nothing fancy there. It's not the kind of tune where you want to play real fancy. Now the trick on a tune like this is not to rush. It's very, very easy. This is kind of one of those tempos that's in, you know, in the nooks and crannies where it's really possible by the end of the tune all of a sudden you've moved up 4 or 5 clicks. You don't want to do that. So it's got to sit right there in the pocket. And there's an art to that. So practice with the metronome on 2 and 4, just doing 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. And then the bass drum can play very lightly, feathering on all 4 for this feel. All right, so that's pretty much it for this tune. Not a real hard tune, but it's great for you teachers out there to work on with your students so they're not locked in to that regular jazz rhythm when you're playing a floating pedal kind of feel like in the beginning. Like. Okay, and again, you can Latinize that like this. And you'll notice I'm playing very loose and very legato. Everything is long, long sounds. Nothing short, nothing loud, nothing that interrupts the groove there. So hope you enjoyed this, and we'll see you next time.